markets. I see oil coming up to almost the highs of the day, still negative, but the highs of the day. The S&P 500 now has moved up, by the way, folks, to just about the highest of the session for today. So important to keep following this story between now and the end of the day. In the meantime, we're following Crowdstrike, ready to talk about the earnings that are due. Jamie Meyers, Senior Analyst, Laffer Tangler Investments, and Todd Walsh, CEO, Chief Technical Analyst, Alpha Cubed Investments. Thank you both for being with us. Todd, I'll start with you. Some of your thoughts?
Well, the news flow is pretty fast and furious, isn't it? Getting into CrowdStrike, that's a core holding in our firm, cybersecurity. We like to think of it as though you have an army of criminals parked outside in front of your house, and their numbers and capabilities are growing every day. And there needs to be a culture of fear. So we think it's a core holding. Remains to be seen what happens with earnings, because, of course, if you don't have great earnings estimates and answering all the metric questions, you can get taken out behind the barn and get shot a little bit. So we'll see how they produce today.
A core holding. That's actually some good news there. It's at 392 today. Jamie, what say you? I mean, we are obviously eagerly awaiting these earnings. We've seen the stock here, slide. Let me just double check and take a look here. It's slid off that 455 high recently, but still a great performer. Year to date, up 15%.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. We would agree. It is a core holding within our growth strategy. Unfortunately, as a result of the July 19th incident last year, visibility is rather limited right now. That incident, was all over the news. It delayed their outbound sales activities, extended sales cycles, and the company's having to offer customer commitment packages, which is essentially a discount or forgoing upfront payment from their customers. But we remain positive on the stock. We think that new ARR is going to be in focus this quarter. We think there's still a path to $10 billion in ARR by 2031. And we believe that the company will continue putting up free cash flow margins at 30% plus, but it's going to be a little rocky in the near term.
Granted, we had the global IT outage that walloped the stock. It has made a fantastic comeback since that time in the lows of about $200. Todd, when you look at the competitive landscape, you said CrowdStrike is a core holding. Are you holding many cybersecurity names?
We hold some of the other big names that you might imagine there too. We think it's just a major theme that's only going to become more important as AI sort of permeates the risk matrix around that sector. The biggest issue around CrowdStrike right now, though, is we're up towards the top of the channel in terms of pricing. If a company doesn't come with the razzle and the dazzle, I call it, meaning they've got to hit their earnings, they've got to hit their revenues, they've got to hit their estimates, and then they've got to answer some of the questions that Jamie brought up around recurring revenues, around competition, some of the other issues around the company, that if they don't hit them all, it'll be tough to break above this growth trajectory that they've been in. If they are able to accomplish a good, strong move above that 450 level, we may adjust the growth or the accelerated growth track to a higher trajectory, but that remains to be seen, and they're going to have to really hit on every metric in this earnings report today.
There's some excitement even about stronger outperformance to its guidance. And, you start to wonder what will drive that in 2025. Is this a CrowdStrike story, or is this a cybersecurity story, Jamie?
We think it's a bit of both. I mean, certainly there's been a long-term mindset shift around cybersecurity. It's no longer about just putting up walls for intruders. It's about stopping folks faster. It still takes about 6 months to identify intruders, and AI is just allowing less sophisticated actors to do this as well. CrowdStrike is a market leader in threat intelligence. They started an endpoint and sort of built around that. They have a leading business in cloud security, identity. So, it's going to be important for them to hit their numbers this quarter. But more importantly, what we're looking for is the evolution of earnings over the course of the year, and maybe an acceleration in the back half.
And when we think about just tech overall here, Todd, we've seen the group being beaten down. In fact, we were talking about the NASDAQ composite today entering correction territory, but then coming back. In fact, tech turned green today. Are you finding people are bargain hunting for tech?
What I'm finding is a pervasive amount of extreme fear, not too far off the all-time highs on the indexes. when you have two massive years like we saw in the AI ecosystem and tech generally in 2023 and 24, it's extremely logical to expect a consolidation year, a lot of volatility up and down. We've been calling for a sawtooth market since about November of last year. We're seeing that. And the playbook is take a look at your portfolio on the tech side, the AI ecosystem side, and the cybersecurity side, and use the volatility to put together an optimized portfolio with the target of getting that done by the end of 2025. This spate of volatility that we've experienced so far this year, we don't think it's over by any stretch of the imagination. So don't get too excited when things are high. Don't get too depressed when things are low. Stick to your core plan and dollar cost average into some of these names when they get beat up.
Yeah, the AI-driven security, the release of the Charlotte AI detection triage has been certainly received beautifully from what I understand, and security detections over 98% accuracy. Do you expect they'll be talking more about this, Jamie?
We do. Charlotte AI really allows the system by itself autonomously to take action on behalf of what used to be a system administrator. So we think they'll talk a lot more about it. We think they'll talk a lot more about Falcon Flex. That business has really, it just started a little over a year ago and has already raked in about $1.5 billion in revenues for the company. So we expect to hear more. We expect to see how it's being employed both inside the company and for customers. Both in terms of improving margins for the company and improving products for the customers.
Yeah, and final thought here, Todd?
They need to talk about recurring revenues, and as Jamie mentioned before, how's the recovery going from a competitive standpoint after that outage last year? When it happened, the pervasive thought was, you had one job. So that was a pretty big hiccup. And we'll see if they've been able to move past that and put it in their rear view mirror and maybe get on a continued growth trajectory higher.
Yeah, the net new annual recurring revenue is something that many of the investors are focused on for today. We'll watch for that. Thank you both so very much. Great to see you, Jamie Meyers and Todd Walsh. So good luck there at CrowdStrike ahead of the earnings.